What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to show you a fun new toy that I just got in from Sweetwater, and it is the Blackstar IDX50. Now this is allegedly Blackstar's answer to the Katana, I would say. And I think that's what they're kind of going for here. The difference being, this is a 50 watt completely modeling amp, where the Katana addresses things a little bit differently. But this has some really cool features that I really like about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the features. You've already heard some of the sounds. I'm going to show you some more of the sounds, and then I'm going to tell you who I think this amp is kind of for and what you might be able to use it for, depending on who you are. And if you don't have one of these types of amps already, should you even buy the thing in the first place? So let's jump straight into the feature set. So right off the rip, what we have here is a 112 digital modeling combo amp. This thing is pretty neat. There's a few things that I really like about it that are, I don't want to say unique to this amp, but are kind of unique to this amp. We have basically some different presets. So, you know, you've got clean, bright, crunch, various things like that. You see the normal amp controls going across the top. So we have a gain and a volume, which you can use properly, like preamp and power amp. Stage, you have bass, middle, treble. You have their ISF, which kind of gives you that British to American sort of blend across capability. We've got some presets here that you can set with the app, which is pretty, it's not an app, it's on the computer, which is pretty stinking cool. And then if you flip over to this side, this is where I think this amp kind of really wins, because it's got a few things here. We've got four things. We've got the pre, which is going to be your like boost and stuff. We've got modulation, which you can actually choose, you know, chorus, phaser, flanger, like that kind of stuff. And you can toggle each one of these things off and on, and they're basically like a pedal board, but kind of at your fingertips. And then of course there's delay and there's reverb, and each of these settings have a bunch of different things. So you've got, you know, your analog, your digital delay, all your stuff. We'll get into that in a minute. And the user interface is actually pretty good. I really like it. We've got master volume. Now the master volume knob over here does not affect the amp gain staging. It's just the actual volume that we're hearing it at, which with a digital amp, that's a win, right? Because you don't have to, it still works at low volumes, unlike a tube amp. We've got power scaling here, so 1 watt, 10 watt, and 50 watt. Since it's digital, it doesn't hurt it like a tube amp would, so it's just louder or softer for playing at home, which is pretty cool. And then I love this button right here. So we've got our response, which is going to be EL84, EL34, or 6L6. That is fun. I really like basically kind of choosing your tube set. So you can sort of build an entire rig just with the buttons here on the top. This is really cool. Now, when you see this, you're going to say, well, that's sort of complicated, but it's not. We'll run through it in a minute. And on the back, it's pretty simple. You've got your line out. You've got a line in for, you know, playing along with, that sort of thing. You've got a effects loop, which is pretty cool. You can choose USB out or a regular, you know, unbalanced out, which is pretty cool, with a selector button there, and a foot switch if you have the foot switch, which I do not. So I tell you what, I'm going to plug in a guitar here, and I'm going to show you what you can do with this control set. I think it's really cool. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to take you through the presets first. So we've got this kind of really clean. In fact, let's do it completely dry. How about that? Now, we should say right while we're talking about this that we can go from the 6L6 to EL84. To EL34. Back to 6L6. Right? So that's pretty cool. So there's your clean bright, and then we go to crunch, and we've got now, the cool part about this is we can play with our gain and turn our gain all the way up. Or we can turn our gain down and go way up with the power. So it really can change the dynamics of everything. And of course we have our EQ. Now, if you notice, we've got gate, resonance, and presence. The way you access that is you just hold this down, and then that gives you your shift for your gate, your presence, and your resonance. One extra little switch here. I know we're getting off topic, but one little extra switch here is going to be a tuner, which is pretty cool. You just hold that down. Going back on through, so now we've got super crunch. And then we've got OD1. And then we've got OD2. And if you notice, we went from OD2 to OD1. It just gained up more, but we could still switch between tubes. So that was 6L6. We could go to EL84. EL34. Back to 6L6. Super, super fun. So it's really, really versatile. Now, within all of that, let's just go back here to clean bright and talk about this side over here. So basically, you're just kind of picking the kind of amp you want to play up to this point. So now let's just go ahead and add some effects in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and just throw some reverb on there. And you notice here it says hall, size, mix. We can actually go ahead and, I think, let's see, we can change from hall to plate to spring. I like spring. And then what we can do here is use our decay time, our mix, and I think if you click on this right one, it'll flip over to the other screen. So it's pretty intuitive. All right, so let's go ahead and throw some delay on there too. And this delay is really, really reactive. So we've got digital, we've got tape echo, we've got multi, and we've got shimmer. And in amongst all of those is going to be your mix and your feedback and all the various settings that go with that particular delay type. So if we go back up here to analog and mix, feedback, time is really long, so let's move that all the way back down to, like, I don't know, 300-ish. All right, so something like that. So pretty cool, right? And then if we go up here to some super crunch, Pretty rad. Now let's do some mods. So we have phaser. That's my favorite. So it's... And then you can go obviously through your phaser, flanger, blah 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 blah. It's all there, which is pretty cool. And then your pre-effects are going to be like your boost and some drives. So like a TS. So yeah, pretty cool. I really like the user interface actually because I think it's easier than a lot of these. I think it's easier than a lot of these amps to use. And then once you get it done the way you want it, you can just save it as a preset. And I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't remember. I think there's 5 or 6 banks of presets here that you can go through with 3 each. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I've just been playing around on the manual mode to explore sounds myself, but I really like it. I think there's a lot to like here. And what I really like about it is it's very reactive. So in the manual mode, when you are just using it like a normal amp, because a lot of people don't want to fiddle with all this, they just want, you know what I really want. Okay, so this is what I really want. I just want to come in here and let's say I want to a little bit of crunch, and I like 6L6, that's my favorite. And we're going to use more power and less gain to get there. And let's throw a tube screamer on it, and then let's throw a little reverb on there. Once you have that, you just save it, and you just got a sound that you like all the time, and you don't have to fiddle with it after that, which is pretty cool. All right, so my take on the IDX50. When I do these reviews, I don't get super technical with every little possibility of every little feature that these things can do. You can go read the manual and get other specifications. The way it hooks up to the computer is pretty neat. You can actually control all the things we just controlled with the computer if that's something that you want to do. I don't. I just want to use the amp. There's a couple of additional features you can do on the computer. You can choose like impulse responses, like what size cabinet you're going to use when you play it into a DAW, that sort of stuff, and mic placement and all that. So if you want to get super down the rabbit hole with that, you can do that. Personally, I don't think that is what this amp is actually the best at, okay? So when I do one of these reviews, I think about this. A, is it good? And when I say is it good, I mean, does it do what it says on the tin? Does it do what the manufacturer intended it to do? 100% very much so. It's very, very good. People are going to say, yeah, but how does it sound? Yeah, but how does it sound? I guarantee you that it will do what the manufacturer intended it to do, and it will make a sound that you want it to make if you sit down and you mess with it. You may have not heard a sound that you like today because you and I have different approaches to music, whether that be with the guitar type, pickup type, how we like our gain set, that sort of thing. That doesn't mean that just because you didn't hear it today that it can't do it. It's just that I didn't do what you do. So I know that if you buy this and sit it down in front of you and spend an afternoon with it, you will get this. You will get cool sounds out of it. I 100% guarantee you that. Now, that being said, it's good. It does what it says on the tin. I think it's capable of excellent sounds. I think it's easy to use for the amount of features that it has. Now, is it a Princeton Tone Master with just some knobs? No, there's more stuff going on here, and you do have to kind of learn how to arrow around in it a little bit. But what I really like about this, I like products like this that have a bunch of features but don't require you to use them all, okay? I like when you can choose how involved you want to get. If you want to just turn it on, pick a sound, pick a preset, and go, that's great. If you want to get a little more involved and create your own presets, that's great. If you want to plug it into the computer and go super nerdy with mic placement and impulse responses and all that kind of stuff, that's great too. I like when you can choose your level of involvement with the product, and I believe that this really does it. Now, who's it for? I think it is for somebody who is like me, who plays at home, who wants, I want a room full of amps without having a room full of amps. Do I need the vintage everything? No, but I want the sounds. I want to be able to have the sounds at my disposal with various guitars, you know, this guitar or a Strat or a Tele or whatever. And I don't want to spend $1 million. You know, I have a Kemper. I have other products too, but I think this is really, really cool for practice. I think it's really cool for a small gig. It gets very loud. It does sound kind of small amp when you turn it up to the loudest setting and you play it really loud. But the flexibility of using it with, like I used it with the Focusrite, you can go straight USB in. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with this thing. Again, choosing your level of involvement with the product. Sometimes there are certain products that have a lot of features and they're really cool, but the learning curve is so steep that it's really difficult, where I don't think that's the case with this. I didn't even read the manual. I just sat down and started goofing around. And in a half hour, I felt pretty familiar. And then I went and read the manual and found out a couple of things I didn't know, but they weren't key to me actually making cool sounds with the guitar. And I think that is what makes a good sort of entry-level, fully feature-packed amplifier, in my opinion. So I dig it. I think it's really cool. Is it as good as the Katana? Time will tell. I should buy a Katana Gen 3 and we should do a comparison. Let me know if you want to see that video in the comments and maybe I'll do that. Sweetwater sent me this amp for review, so I want to thank them for doing that. There's a link to it in the description. Go try it. If you don't have any of these small amps, you know, like this is a good one. I dig it a lot. Is it as good as a Katana? It's been a while since I played through a Katana, so I can't remember. I want to get one, like I said, and we'll do the comparison. I like this better than the Line 6 version of these things. I like this better than the Marshall version of these things. And of course it has way more features than, you know, like a Fender Tone Master or something, so it doesn't really even compare there. So I would say in the entry-level space, I think that its closest competition is going to be the Katana. So I think we should do that shootout. But as it stands on its own, not comparing it to anything else, I really do like it. I think it does what it says on the tin, and it's awesome. If you have any questions, get in the comments. Maybe we'll do some follow-up videos with it. Like I said, I'll leave a link to it in the description. If you use those links, it does help out the channel. Please do that. If you're interested in the pickups that we used today or the guitar that we used today, you can go to DylanTalksTone and get those there. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.